book which I'm currently reading. It's called Atomic Habits.
It's called Power of Habits, about how they were scaling the databases.
I'm absolutely loving it.
Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to my first podcast. In this series of podcast, I'll be sitting with my brother Brigu, who's joining us from Seattle. Both of us are software engineers, and we love talking about technology, self-improvement things, books that we're reading. We love sharing things, and we'd often do that in a call, but this time we decided why not just record us having a casual conversation around these topics and just share it on YouTube. So yeah, welcome Brigu. How's it going?
Hey, Ask. It's going good. Thanks for the intro, and I'm pretty excited for this podcast series, especially because we always have these interesting conversation about some interesting topics. From which we both learn a lot, and it would be pretty amazing if we just put it out there for anyone to listen to.
Yeah.
So,
just to give our audience some context, Brigo and I are pretty similar age, and we studied engineering, and we were in school together, and we'll often help each other out with homeworks or preparing one another for interviews, doing a lot of side projects together. We've done a couple of hackathons, and it's always good to share learnings and failures with one another. So Brigo, what's on your mind? What books have you been reading recently?
So there's one book which I'm currently reading. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. So it's one of the most popular books. I think people have already heard about it. And one thing I realized about this is the kind of book which will definitely change your life for the better. Because I haven't completed it. I'm still reading it. But one interesting takeaway is that the smallest of the things which we do every day, which may not seem significant at this moment,
right?
But those are the things which are going to define the quality of your lives in the upcoming years. And because in successful people's life, there are no breakthrough moments or days which after which they become successful, but it's their smallest to smallest habits which they have been doing day to day,
right?
Which accumulated and which resulted in their success. Now, I'm not a master of mastering these habits myself, but I'm also still learning, and it's pretty fun to read that book and get all this learning from there.
Yeah,
so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it reminds me of another book that I read a long time ago. It's called Power of Habits, and I had a similar takeaway from the book. We always often seek motivation and enthusiasm. We wait for days when we'll be feeling inspired to do the next creative work, and quite often those inspirational moments are short-lived, and whereas habits they're more consistent, and once you do things more consistently you get better results over time.
I totally agree. I think that's a great book too. I think this one is kind of inspired by that one also.
Right. I also want to add that people find it funny that when people sell their books this book is going to change your life, people think it's super hyped up, but I do think that there is some truth to it. I believe that human beings are very malleable, so by incorporating different habits you can literally transform your life. I felt this personally. Brigo, you know me well. When I was in university, I was neglecting my health a lot. I'd eat a lot of junk food and I was getting chubby. And I remember when I started working, and that's when I was like, I should focus on improving my health. I bought myself an Apple Watch, and it would track my VO2 levels. It's like a measure of how efficiently your body is consuming oxygen, so it's like an indication of how athletic you are. And it used to be below average, and over time I started running, lifting weights and doing a lot of cardio exercises, and I've literally felt the change. And I've also seen the Apple Watch measuring my VO2 levels, and it's increased drastically. It's up to above average, and I've also seen my resting heartbeat decrease, and I feel a lot better running. I can run longer, and yeah, so I definitely believe that incorporating good habits like eating healthy, sleeping well, can literally transform life. So it's all true. I don't think it's hyped up.
Yeah. Yep, I second that. So what about you, Yask? Any interesting books you've been reading
Uh,
recently or in the
yes.
past?
So I've been reading a book that I read a long time ago. I read this in my engineering college, and it's called Show Your Work. Um, and this is the book that literally motivated me to record the podcast. I'm not even kidding. So I've always struggled with putting my work out to the audience. Like I've always felt that, in order to improve or increase your impact, you need to increase your surface area of your work. So you can do that either by publishing your blog posts, or sharing your learnings with a larger audience. And I think it takes a certain skill set to do that. You have to learn how to talk to a general audience. Like you have to be good in storytelling. You have to develop some empathy for your audience, and you're talking to complete strangers. And I felt that I'm not really good in these things. Like being a nerd, and I've always spent a lot of time with books and computers, and I don't have a lot of experience just talking to like strangers. So that's why I think the best way to learn is to just do and learn from mistakes. So Show Your Work was more or less I just wanted a kick, and in inspiration to just start. This podcast is a result of what I'm doing based off just
Another
reading
topic.
the book. So I was reading, I came across this YouTube video from it's a technical presentation by Uber Engineering. They were working on scaling their Uber app infrastructure, because Uber has millions of users, and they see billions of transactions in the database. So they were talking about how they were scaling the databases, and they had to migrate from Cassandra to SpannerDB. And the video was similar. They were using Cassandra for a while, and they started noticing inconsistency in the database. NoSQL comes with a trade-off that following the CAP theorem, it does provide really good scalability and good availability, but at the cost of consistency. And at the scale of Uber, they really couldn't afford eventual consistency. People were seeing wrong values, and they wanted to see more accurate, precise things when you're booking a cab or ordering food. So they eventually had to migrate over to SpannerDB, and SpannerDB is a relational database. It's a MySQL database, but Google has done a great job of making relational database like MySQL also scale horizontally, and it's also distributed. It's highly available, and it comes with all the included batteries that a relational database comes with. So all the asset properties, atomicity, transactions. It's consistent. So it's great. So it's super interesting, learning their story on how they moved to Cassandra, how they migrated back to SpannerDB, and then how the whole migration went into. So Uber's, they operate at a high scale. They have millions of users and billions of transactions in databases. So it's almost like changing the wheel of a tire while the car is moving. So it's super fascinating to see how they did it. So if you guys want to
So one question, so what exactly was the problem what they were facing, and was it associated something with Cassandra or NoSQL in general?
Yeah,
could
so
have looked for a better NoSQL DB alternative that would have solved their problem, or?
Yeah, I just think, so it's a great question. NoSQL database inherently do not come with asset properties. As I mentioned, CAP theorem, it has high availability, it has high partitioning, but it doesn't have good consistency. It's eventually consistent, but sometimes there are use cases where the user is expecting to see real-time values, and you want to persist those real-time values in the database. And NoSQL databases, they don't do a great job. I know people have built their own workarounds around it to provide better consistency, but then it adds a lot of complexity. The application, the database concern is now living in the application layer, which isn't great. But anyway, MySQL is a tool that has been there forever. It's tried and tested, and a lot of big companies are relying on it, and it just comes with naturally battery included. So yeah, might as well just rely on MySQL, industry standard.
Cool, yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. pretty cool stuff.
Cool. And any interesting tools you've downloaded that's been making you productive? Any VS Code extensions or any power drink or anything in general?
I mean, there are a bunch of them, including the power drinks. But there's one app in Mac which I've been consistently using for a long time. So since I like writing a lot, I like to journal things, write some blog posts. So there's this app. I think you know what I'm going to say.
Notion.
It's called Notion. Yeah, and I think I absolutely love that app. It provides an amazing platform to write. I mean, manage your life, your all your planners, habit trackers, finance planners on that application. It's like you can manage your whole life out there. And I think using that, I've been able to organize my ideas, thoughts, my to-do lists much more efficiently rather than using some other app. Because now I'm thinking that's just one place, and I like to write, journal a lot. So yeah, that's one app which I like use daily.
Very
so
cool.
I'm absolutely loving it.
Yeah, music to my ears. Like I've been also trying to get better in writing things down, and as a matter of fact, we wrote topics for this podcast in Notion as well.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that we can make collaborative documents.
Yeah.
Ask you like what are the apps which you recently discovered or has found interesting in the past few days?
Yeah, one thing about Notion is that I'm thinking of making a habit tracker in Notion and making it public so that people can go to my website and see if I'm actually following and make myself more accountable. But anyway, I've installed a few tools that are definitely making me more productive. One of which is Raycast. It's a replacement for your Spotlight. So command space to like open an application, files, things like that. It's just faster. Like it can do like a lot more than the Spotlight. It can like help you tile windows and move your screen to another screen because I work with widescreen monitors and like a bunch of different monitors. So I can just write in a command and just like move things very efficiently. Another tool that I've been using, it's called Warp. It's a terminal written in Rust. It's super fast, and the key difference in this terminal is that it supports command palette. So you can press Command P and like search for settings. You can say, hey, like split it vertically. So you don't have to remember the commands. You don't need to remember where the certain settings or configurations are. I love command palette. It's the best UX ever invented. So yeah, and it comes with a lot of backlinks.
Both of these apps are around command palette.
I love command
really
palette. Yeah, love it. So yeah, definitely give it a shot. I'll include these links in the description of the video so you can check it out.
Cool.
Very cool. So yeah, that's the end of our podcast. Let us know how we did. If you have any feedback, topics you want us to talk more about, let us know. We're thinking of doing this weekly, so that'll encourage us to like keep researching and keep reading and keep learning new things so that we can have something to discuss in the upcoming podcast. But for now, thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you.